Hey there everybody, it's Garrett. In this week's video, we're going to be talking about budgeting and how just by budgeting and keeping track of your expenses, you can start saving money fast, easy, and one day become an everyday millionaire. If you learn anything new or enjoy this video, please consider hitting the like button down below and subscribing to stay up to date with more content. Anyways, let's get into it. Most people think you need to have a high-paying job like a doctor or a lawyer to become rich one day, but that's simply not true. The statistics show that most millionaires come from quite humble roots, actually. Most of them are teachers, engineers, accountants, not the jobs that you would expect would be the highest paying. Also, these people did not inherit a lot of their money. They actually worked for their money. Of course, these individuals invested in the stock market. That's no surprise, but where did they get the money to invest that much into the stock market where they could make $1 million or more dollars? The reason is income's not the important factor. It's net income. Net income is a simple equation where it's your income that you're receiving minus your expenses. So to have a lot of money left over, you either have to have a lot of income or not a lot of expenses. So for net worth, even if you don't have the highest income, but you're able to save quite a bit of a percentage of that income, that's the key to save more money. If someone making $40,000 saves $5,000 after expenses of $35,000, they have $5,000 left over, which is good enough to put into a retirement account, put in the stock market, or even just put in savings. However, let's say there's a rich doctor out there making $100,000. If they spend all their money, all $100,000 on new vehicles, equipment, vacations, then they're not saving nearly as much as the person making $40,000, even though that income seems like a big gap in between it. So even though the doctor who makes $100,000 has a higher income, they don't make more at the end of the year if you're talking about net income, because the person making $40,000 saved a higher percentage of their income. Okay, great, Garrett. We need to save more money. Thanks, Captain Obvious. But how do we do that? It's actually quite simple. Budgeting. There are several ways to do a budget. But what a budget is a written plan where you keep track of how much money you're making, income, and comparing it to how much you are spending, your expenses. This helps you keep an eye on those expenses so you know when during the month how much you're spending and how close you are to using up all the money that you set aside for certain expenses. These expenses are broken down into several categories such as transportation and car payments, your house, your bills and utilities, and etc. Later on in this video, I'm going to show you an Excel template that I made that's easy to follow along with, and I'll also include a link down in the description below where you can use this template for yourself. But before you get started with a budget, don't just go out there and do it. You need to know there's one important step that you need to follow, and that is you need to be committed to staying on budget every single month. You can't take months off, you can't look away from it, you need to stick with it, or else the whole point of having a budget is obsolete. By sticking with the budget, you'll have a greater snapshot of where all your spending's going, where all your income is coming from, and be able to keep better tabs on where everything's going, and also know where you can cut back on certain expenses, see where you're spending too much money. Also, having more months worth of budgets gives you a better idea because sometimes during certain months, such as around Christmas time and December and buying gifts in November, you're spending a lot more money then than you are in, say, February or March. So having that full year and really knowing how much you're spending is a great start. But really the first couple months are the most important and will really settle you down into how to budget and what you're going to do to stay consistent with it. As I said earlier, there are several ways in which you can create a budget. You can do it with a notebook if you really want. You can do it on a notebook, just write everything down, keep track of all your expenses. No problem with that. You can use apps such as Mint.com and Evernote, which also have online browsers, and that's perfectly fine too. Later on in my example, we're going to use Excel to go over the budget example. It has a little bit more customization, just as you would with a notebook, where you're free to do with whatever you want. But you can also add in a lot of those calculations so that you don't have to manually add up numbers by yourself. Whatever you want to do, that's the best option. Whatever works is going to be the best thing for you. Whatever makes you stay committed is what's going to work. And here's the Excel template I promised you. So as you see here, there's tons of categories all around here. Over here, we have the income side. Over here, we have 2 columns full of expenses. And here's our numbers that we're looking for at the end that Excel calculates for us. Now, you don't have to use all of these categories, and I don't expect everyone to use all of these. However, if you want to change them out, you can simply just go in. Let's say we don't have a HSA and we have a SEP IRA. So we're going to put SEP IRA and good to go. It'll work just fine. Also, if you want to delete rows, you certainly can. Insert rows. I'm sure most of you know how to do that already. If not, leave a comment down below with any Excel questions that pertain to this sheet, and I'll certainly be able to help you. So let's work through an example here. So if we're going to do the 40,000 example that we started this video off with, that's going to be about $3,333. A little change, but we're going to ignore that. And over here, you see this automatically populated. The reason for that is one of the key rules of personal finance is to pay yourself first. This means make sure you're saving or investing enough money each and every month. So over here, you can see up here, B3 times 0.15. That's taking our salary that we're making and multiplying it by 15%. Because 15% is kind of a normal rule of thumb of how much you should be saving each month. Of course, if you can't make enough money for food and housing, those necessities, that comes first. But after that, saving is very important as well as investing. Now, with the rest of income, we have dividends from investments, we have side hustles, refunds, pensions, and a couple other categories saved. You don't have to fill these all out. Most likely, salary is going to be the one that you're going to pay attention most to. But just to show you something, let's say we made $45 selling stuff on eBay. You see, it'll add up for you automatically under the total for monthly income. As well as down here, we're already starting to see some numbers fill in for us. We've got the total income minus the expenses, which our only expense right now is saving for our emergency fund, which, sidetrack, emergency fund should be about 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in case of an emergency. So saving up a little bit each month when you're starting off is a great idea. Now, because we're super savers over here, we're going to want to save another 15% into our investments. Now, whether you're using a 401k, a Roth, IRA, or any of these other options shown here, that's up to your personal circumstances, and I'm sure I'll talk about that in another video. But for today's sake, we're going to use the 401k, and we're just going to copy that number that we have for our emergency fund because we know that's also 15% of our income. So now we see our savings total showing up down here. We got just close to $1,000, which is great for each month. And that's 30% of our income right there. 15% plus 15% equals 30%. Now, one of the next biggest expenses that everyone has each month is food. Of course, groceries are necessary, and restaurants, you can get yourself in trouble in. As great as it is eating out, that can really add up. And that's one of the reasons we have a budget. For groceries, we're going to say we spend, now for restaurants, let's say we weren't doing so hot. Let's say we spent $150 in a month eating out. Look at that. Now our food total is $500. Which is close to another 15%. It's actually over 15%. But let's keep going on and see how this adds up. Gas, I personally spend about $40. I really haven't had to drive much, especially with the pandemic going on now. But let's add up a little bit more. Let's say $55. Let's say you have to fill up about one more time extra. Maintenance and repairs, maybe you got to save up $10 a month for that. I don't know. I'm just making up numbers here. Car payments, maybe insurances, $110 a month. Keep going. Gym membership, I think I spend close to $30 on that. Let's do medicine, vitamins, doctor visits. Let's say you have a $50 copay. Credit card debt. I really hope you don't have any credit card debt. This is extremely hurtful to your finances. If you have any, try paying it off immediately. Even forego the savings right here, except for maybe outside of $1,000 or two of an emergency fund. Housing, let's say you're renting, maybe it's $500 a month. Let's go with that. Let's go ahead to utilities. Gosh, how much are we going to spend on utilities here? Let's say you cut out cable. We'll put that in entertainment, any kind of Netflix or any kind of subscriptions. They'll be later on. Health insurance. I'll even pass this category up. Let's see where our money's at. Clothing, $20 a month. Gifts, let's say subscriptions. Maybe you got Spotify, you got Netflix, maybe Disney Plus. And let's see where we're at. Our total monthly expense is $2,814.90, which, as we see over here, we have an extra $563 left over after expenses. However, we could save a lot more if you look back on here, and we haven't even included everything. See, if you only have a little bit of credit card debt, let's say $250 on 2 different cards, look how much that ate into how much money we have extra to put even more into savings and retirement. That really adds up every month. Look at it, $500. Save an extra $500 every month because you're paying interest on this, so it's even more than that. $500 every month, what's that? Let's use Excel. Let's use what we learned here. Equals 500 times 12 months. $6,000. Should have done that. Easy math. $6,000. You know how much it takes to max out your Roth IRA? $6,000. So by not having credit card debt, or not even credit card debt, other things on here as well, you could be maxing out your IRA, your Roth IRA, which compounds over time and increases, being in the stock market, appreciates over time, and is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that you are missing out on because of dumb expenses that you're making. So let's go back through this budget and really change it up here. So let's go through our actual budget, because right here we were doing projected. Let's go our actual budget and see what happens if we cut back on some of these expenses. So right now we're going to skip savings and go back to that last. That's something I like to do. Wait till we see what our difference is at the end. Let's go to food. Maybe we cut back on the restaurants. Maybe we only go out a couple times, and let's not go anywhere super fancy. Every once in a while, it's fine. If you have to go out for a birthday or something or a special occasion, nothing wrong with that. However, if you're going out every week, you might want to tone it back here. Let's say we don't have to spend that much. Go to Chipotle. Who doesn't like Chipotle? When they're giving out that free guac, you get the free guac, but don't pay for extra stuff when you don't need to. So with the restaurants, let's say we go out a couple times to Chipotle, $50 max. 50. That's a couple dates. You're doing good. As you see over here, I have a difference calculator on here, so it finds the difference between how much you're spending at restaurants and actual, and it'll show negative if you spend too much more, or if you spend less. In this example, it's showing a positive number. Groceries, maybe we cut it back a little bit to 300, get a couple things out of the cart that we don't need. We're saving money already. Let's keep going. Gas, maintenance, repairs, this varies over who you are. I'm not going to change this. This is hard to cut back on if you need it. Maybe you don't go out as much as you were originally, or maybe you combine trips. While you're out, go to the store to get everything you need done all at once, so you're not having to drive back and forth and wasting more gas than you need to. Health, let's say you negotiate your gym membership. Maybe you buy a whole year's worth at once, so it cuts down that monthly payment. Let's say we get it back down to $20. You go to Planet Fitness for $20. That works out. Save $10 a month. That's $120 a year right back into your wallet. Credit card debt, we're getting rid of that. We're clearing it out. Let's say we paid it off. We don't have any. You don't even need to put the zeros in like I just did. Just leave it blank. You pay nothing. Great. Let's see, mortgage, rent, $500. Maybe you get a smaller place. You don't need that big of a place. Let's get it down to $400. Depends on the area of the country you're living in, how much you're spending, but try to lower it. You can always find a cheaper place, and usually without sacrificing too much. We don't have cable. I could have put cable in originally and said, cable, gosh, how much is that? $120? Maybe more, depending on where you're at, different packages you have. Cut that back. With that said, you don't need every subscription service possible. You don't need Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime and the whole Disney Plus package. You don't need all that. Most of the time, I only watch one show at a time. So you can just cancel your subscription and sign back up for it when you're back to that platform watching the show on there. No need to have them all at once. And here's that insurance part. I didn't even put insurance down before all this. You know how much insurance can be? I don't, because I'm still a dependent. But I know it's got to be crazy, and I don't even want to think about it yet. So we haven't even added that in there, and that's eating more of our money that we're making before taxes and all that. You're saving even less money because of that. So this is why budgeting is important. You got to cut out that stuff that you don't need, because there's these things that you might need, like life and health insurance. Maybe this month we say, hey, I got plenty of clothes in my closet. I don't need any more. Haircut, fine. Gifts, I'm not going to tell you to buy cheap gifts for your friends, family, and people you're close to. We'll keep it at that. Go along. Subscriptions. Like I said, let's cut it down. Let's just get, let's say Hulu at $5 a month with a student discount, and Spotify with a student discount. Yep. You get them combined. You can get Hulu and Spotify combined for like, I think it's $5, but let's say $10. Heck, let's say $15. We're still saving $20 a month, $240 a year. Why not do that? Who cares that you have to watch the ads on Hulu? Dude, play on your phone anyway when that happens. Come on. You can do it. Books. Let's go to the library. $0. I like buying a book every once in a while. I'm not going to lie. But I know I could just go to the library. You just go to the library. Save yourself some money. Video game. If it's once, let's keep it. Once in a while purchase, fine. As long as it's not a habit where you're buying a game every week. That's where it adds up. That's where the budget is really going to save you from those small expenses that really add up over time. That's what eats away at this. You have to spend the $300 on groceries. You have to pay for the insurance. You have to put the money into your savings. That's what you need. What you don't need is buying the video game every week or spending so much on clothing. This is where we really waste away at our money. That's going to grow over time, and that $20 could end up being a couple $100 by the time you take it out of your retirement. This is super important. And there's too many people my age that are in college or maybe getting out of high school, getting out of college. They don't even know what this is. They might know Calculus 6. They might know whatever marketing class they're in, but they don't know how to check their budget and see how much they're spending. This is what's super important. This is going to impact everyone's life. Doesn't matter what major you are, if you have a major, where you're working, how much you make. This is going to be important for you. As always, thanks again for watching the video. If you liked it, please consider hitting the like button down below if you enjoyed the video and learned something new. Also consider subscribing. I'm going to be coming out with videos every week, so please do that. I'd really appreciate it. Also, don't forget, down below in the description, I've left the Excel template that you can use to create a budget of your own. And a quick shout out to Nate O'Brien's channel. I actually got this Excel template from him originally, and I've changed it up a little bit. I think I've enhanced it a bit, but he was the original owner of it. I just want to give him a quick shout out for that. Thank you again for watching the video, and as always, it's Garrett, signing out.